Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Great to have you here on Family Notes. Thank you for all the feedback that everyone gives. Hey, look, I'm turning to, I think, a much more inspirational person and topic today. Indeed, I'm just going to put Karin straight onto the screen. This is Karin Horen. Look, Karin, lovely to have you here.
So happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. We waited a little bit, but we're here now. So very excited. Yeah.
Well, I said very briefly at the start that, this is for me to be a podcast that is more inspirational. We deal with all sorts of topics here, from the cultural to the political, but, your life, your story is, for me, incredibly inspirational. And for people who are going to come to know Karin through this podcast, she is a mother. She is a migrant. She is originally from Israel, but is now a New Zealander. She's had breast cancer twice. She is a speaker. She is an author. She is a growth mindset coach. She is everything and all, and you're fabulous. So it's great to have you on the show, and I'm just really wanting over the next few minutes just to talk about your life and experiences, and to the degree you can and want, is to share sort of how you've navigated this life that you've had and all the challenges. And also, you better do a bit of a shout out for your work as well, because of course, from what you've learned and experienced, you help others. So give us a bit of an introduction to who Karin is.
So good morning, New Zealand. My name is Karin Horen, and I am a twice breast cancer survivor, a published author of the book I'm More Than Just My Tits. A bit controversial, but we got it on the shelves at the end. And I am a mindset and resilience coach. I call myself more, I think, a navigator. That is how I see my life and other people's lives. We navigate through challenges. We navigate through our life experiences, whether it's good or bad. And sometimes we lose our compass and we need to find it again. So I believe that as a problem solver and someone who moved countries as a child, I lived in Nigeria as well for 5 years. My parents moved there, and my dad was working there for 13 years. I learned to adopt to cultures, people. I became quite an open person as I grew and got to know more people. And I think that I never had that fear of connection. And so moving countries and moving to Australia, I studied my master's degree there at UTS. And then I moved to New Zealand. I met my kid's dad, who's Māori. So my kids are Māori Jewish, which is quite a mix. You can imagine how strong-minded my kids are, and it's pretty amazing.
No comment. No comment.
No comment. They're strong kids. They've got whakapapa, they've got history. They know their who they are, which is quite important to me as well, is that mix and respect both cultures and indigenousy. I have been living in New Zealand for 15 years. I lived in Australia for 5, so all 20 years away now. And I guess that a lot of people know me from my philanthropy work. I am the co-founder of the Pedal for Hope, one of the greatest water fundraiser that's been established in 2011, and the founder of Eat, Drink, Pink, which is another fundraiser for cancer rehabilitation, and I am the co-founder of the Pedal On, which is the revolutionary cancer rehabilitation program that's been established in New Zealand and now is also being practiced in Australia, together with Pink and Steel Rehabilitation Foundation. So I have taken most of my life. I've taken my adversity, my challenges, my problems, and try to create something. I'm quite practical, people say, and try to solve problems and find solutions. And I guess that led me, all these activities, all my life led me to create this life for myself. And I believe that a lot of people, they get stuck in the problems, and I say, let's find the way. So that took me to coaching and public speaking, and of course, writing my book and publishing it in New Zealand was a big thing for me. I wanted to leave a legacy behind, and I wanted people to tune in and find their strength between those words, sentences, and paragraphs in the book. Nowadays, I help professionals. I help ambitious women to navigate their challenges in life. And I personally love it. I mean, it can be draining sometimes and overwhelming because people open up to you, and you sometimes really don't know what people are going through. And as we say, don't judge a book by its cover. So, people look at me sometimes and go, oh my gosh, her life is just fantastic. Like, she trains, she exercises, she paddleboards in the summer, she looks great, she's smiling, got beautiful kids, but, I'm a solo mom. And there's a big difference between solo and single. I don't co-parent. I'm on my own with my 3 children in New Zealand. And I have to say that overall we've got it good. But my kids have gone through a lot because of my cancer journey and being in a family that, the parents have separated. And so this is, in short, I guess, my autobiography. Yeah.
Oh, look, I just think you're an amazing and fabulous person. I've just been delighted to know you over the years. And look, you have packed so many experiences, both positive and negative, into, can I just say, still a relatively short life. I mean, I don't want to take into, what your commercial work too much, because you don't want to give away all the secrets, but, and we'll delve into the specifics, obviously, of migrating and writing and breast cancer and parenting. But, I mean, how is it that you channel all the struggles and all the problems in life into, as you say, navigating resilience? I mean, is there a secret? I mean, what's been your approach that's enabled you to still be that smiling and also incredibly honest person that you are?
So there's a few components, I think, if I'm going to put the serious head on. I think that one is definitely belief systems and faith. So knowing in my heart and soul that everything is going to work out. Okay, that everything is temporary, the good and the bad. That is something that I didn't just learn from studying. I've studied psychology and counseling diploma. I've done my bachelor in communication and political science, and I studied healthy thinking coaching with Dr. Tom back many, many years ago. And one of the things I've learned along the years that everything is temporary, the good and the bad. And so we need to take a deep breath and trust, really trust. And that is something that is a belief system, is to trust yourself, that you've got abilities. And I think a lot of people forget their abilities. So they get caught up in the problem. I sometimes give a very simple example, finances. People look at their bank account, they look at the bank account and it's an overdraft, and look at the bank account and they keep on talking about it. And I say, stay away from this. Try to find solutions. Be as practical as you can. Write it down, list it. So when, people face adversity, there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear involved, like the unknown. I can't live in the unknown. I need to control things. You can't control what you can't control. So that's my mentality. And I have to work on myself as well. So I've done a lot of self-work along the years. Throughout my cancer journeys, I went to psychologists, therapists. I had to do breath work, yoga, whatever I could, to sustain this mindset and to know that it's not my fault or things are going to be okay. And channel it into writing, journaling, and all of that. Affirmations, repetition, and consistency will give people confidence at the end of the day. So it's not just, I want to do something or things are going to work out. We've got to be consistent. We've got to put things into action. And that gives us confidence because we know in our gut that we're doing something proactive towards the situation. And sometimes we do need to surrender a little bit, because you cannot control what you can't control. So you need to take a few steps back and understand what is happening right now and take advice from professionals and all that. So there's a lot of components. Now, you take me back to my childhood. I had a father who was a commander in the military for 16 years. You know, I grew up in quite a disciplined home. You get up, you do what you need to do. There's no time to dwell. There's no time to think about it. That was my mentality for many, many years. I've softened a bit with my kids, I have to say. But I still
they'll be pleased. They'll be pleased about that.
Yeah, they'll be pleased. And, it's quite controversial for some people, but I served in the IDF and I served in one of the top intelligence units. And for me, that was a big turning point because I came from a beautiful suburb. I grew up with amazing people, and then I had to kind of integrate, and I started meeting people from all walks of life, which wasn't the case when I was younger, before I joined. And, you suddenly change your kind of identity in about less than 24 hours. You put this on, you do this, and that's it. So you learn to become more resilient. You learn to adopt very quickly and learn things really, really fast. And suddenly you've got so much responsibility. And so many times when I go through my own personal challenges, for example, I have to take a few steps back and actually go, you've gone through this, this, and that. You can do this. And a lot of people who I come across, either through public speaking and I meet people afterwards and we chat, or through coaching, and throughout my life in general, people, most of them, as I said earlier, get stuck in the situation. That's all they can see. They forget what they've done when they were younger. They forget how strong they are. They forget what they've gone through. And so sometimes we need to take a bit of a journey backwards, in time, in the time tunnel, to realize who we are. We all have incredible, unique abilities, and people need to remember that they've got superpowers. And even if there's something that is negative in your mind and you think this is not a good trait, use it. Use it. We're talking today about ADHD and ADD and autism and all of that. You can do amazing things with obstacles, with your own traits and behavioral patterns that you might think are not good and won't serve you, but they can serve you. These things can become your superpower. So
they can be quite transformative, can't they?
Right? Yeah, absolutely. I had to find it in me. I lost so many parts of my body has been, I call mutilated. It's like just absolutely shocking, and I had to find that strength because I'm a woman, right? So people perceive me in a certain way. And so you got to find that strength. So you got to find what superpowers you do have, right? And channel that.
So it sounds like a big part of your work is encouraging those people into those, if you say, superpowers, to let them, I don't know, as you were speaking, I suppose my limited experience compared to yours is people can get into very dark tunnels, particularly when the pressures of life are on, and it takes someone, and I suspect this is a big part of your work, to come in, stand beside them and actually broaden out that vision and say, look, this is the bad things which have happened, let's call them out, but actually here is, to use your word, here are those superpowers. And one thing that, amongst others, that resonated with me, my own philosophy, Karin, in life is, I don't worry about the things I can't change. And if there's something going wrong, if I can fix it, then that's what I've got to do. Don't worry about it. But it sounds like there's a lot of people that clearly need that sort of resilience and coaching and mindset navigation that you do. And I think you primarily do that alongside women. Is that right?
Yeah, most of my community is women-based. I've had a couple of guys who approached me, and that's actually lately, and it was for me, quite a privilege. I loved it to see how men can open up and peel the layers. I like to disrupt the mind. That is what I love doing. I love breaking and peeling. And actually, when someone states something to me and says, this is what it is, I ask one question that I learned through healthy thinking coaching is this true? And I've got one of my clients at the moment who, when I do this exercise with her, and it's every session we reach that point where, is it true? Just asking that question, even to children. So this is a great exercise for kids because kids usually generalize, right? So they go, you never buy me lollies at the supermarket. You never take the word never, right? So we use a lot of these distinct words, and that generalizes one incident or one situation becomes a big elephant, right? So the whole day has been awful because of one little thing that happened. So I like to disrupt the mind and go, is it true? And when you do it with children, it's amazing. You kind of pause their tantrum. I said, hold on a minute. Yesterday we've been at the supermarket. We bought those lollies. And then it disrupts the mind, instead of arguing that I do. Oh, no, you're telling me this. You're talking to me this way. So even with adults, with women who are going through challenges, and, women, we've got hormones up and down. There's a lot going on, menopause is a big deal. Right now, it's the talk of the town, actually, which I've gone through quite young because of my breast cancer journey and removal of ovaries, for example, and my BRCA1 mutation that I carry. So I've gone through it quite speedy in a speedy road. And it's amazing to see that with the right questions that you ask. This is coaching, by the way. You don't just bring things up the surface like maybe psychologists do and therapists. It is actually finding the right questions to ask people so they actually think about what they're saying and about their perception and their mindset. And yes, women, we tend to analyze. And, the one good thing about us, I guess, as women is we usually have a good, strong tribe. And that is a very important point, is to surround yourself with the right people. So as women, we feel more comfortable probably to share our problems with others. We'll open up. You'll meet someone at the supermarket just standing in a queue and someone's holding a million things and, here, and there's a little kid, and we start talking, and 5 minutes later, you know everything about that person. So this is usually women, right? Men don't always do that. I think that we've become a little bit more open about it, and we're now normalizing conversations. We're normalizing the fact that it's okay not to be okay, right? For a male and a female, it doesn't matter. So
I think you're right. I mean, it's a generalization, but generally as men, we bottle things up. I mean, I'll be honest, I tend to just sort of hold things and trying to process them in my own mind. But I like something you actually liked a lot of things you've said, but that speaking the truth, as you say, we often will use terms like never or not, but actually, is it true? And I'm struck in my own life at times that you'd be having a great day, but all of a sudden I get in a bad mood because of one event. And I'm always just struck how that, it could be really bad, but somehow that one thing we become fixated on, and it just colours the whole day, despite a whole array of amazing other things happening. So again, I assume a lot of your sort of coaching work with people is to say, look, just step back from these particulars and look at the whole, and again, recognise that you have to use, and those superpowers that you talk of. I'm really quite taken by that. Well, let's delve into a couple, if you don't mind. Oh, please.
No, that's my character, see. I think with generalizing, that's also healthy thinking, by the way, is using words. We need to use certain words. So instead of saying you always or you never, you can use a word like sometimes, or when something happens on the road or you've done something silly, you go, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm or you call yourself names. So I don't allow my my people to call themselves name and to put themselves down, which is a rule number one. But you can say, well, sometimes I'm a little bit silly, or sometimes I'm a little bit disorganized, or sometimes, or often I do that, but not always. And those words have got a lot of meaning because our mind is programmed to protect us. So that's fear. And two is to dwell on the bad stuff. We're so good at it. And you'll see that along the day, if you say something negative, what's going to happen? It's like a chain reaction. The complaining, sometimes I'll call a friend and I'll say, oh, this economy, I can't, the butter cost me $12 and this happened and I start complaining, right? And it's very natural to complain we call it venting because we want to feel good about it, but we're complaining, right? So we complain and then it's like this chain reaction, like a snowball. And by mid conversation, 5 minutes into it, you're like, hold on a minute. What am I doing to my brain? What am I doing to my brain? And so it's really important to have, and I say like a supportive person who is like your friend, who's accountability buddy. We call it an accountability buddy. So when you talk to that accountability buddy, right, you tell them up front, you tell them, hey, if I start complaining and going to this spiral of negative, just cut the conversation. Just stop. Because it's not going to be useful. It's okay to vent for a bit. So one of the tips I can give people if they do go into that dark place or a bit of negativity or in a conversation, put a stopper on your phone, like the timer, and put like a minute. And just put time limit to these moments. Put time limit when you need to cry and vent and punch the pillow, and put a time limit. It doesn't need to take the whole day. If it does, sometimes, you get into a bit of a depressive episode, I understand. But if it's momentarily, putting in a framing it, can really help. And so, our mind is programmed to excel the negative, to really put so we are the people, we are in control. We are the only people, that can control ourselves. No one else can help us. Even if you go and get the best program, the best plan, your blueprint or whatever it is, if you're not going to be consistent about it, if you're not going to do your work, if you're not going to tune into your mindset and really work on mindset by repeating, by being consistent, it's going to get harder. Right? And so when someone says no, it's never going to happen, or, calm down. Let's breathe. Let's go through. Yeah.
It echoes one of my, again, I'm not as experienced or professional as you, but I've always had the adage, the unreflected life is not worth having. In other words, when I am worried about something or I'm processing big issues, I want to be able to reflect on it, not to become obsessed with it, but to have that step back and go, okay, why am I feeling and thinking what I am at the moment? What's going on? And it just, for me, it makes a big difference, because I don't know if you've got an answer to this, because it's somewhat psychological, but is that propensity of the human mind to be negative or to focus on the negative? I often say to people, we remember the long queue at the bank or the supermarket. We forget the 10 times that we went straight through the checkout or got to the teller. We seem to obsess, is that the right word, or remember the negative? I mean, do we have any answers of why that's the case?
As I said earlier, our mind is programmed like this. So it's very easy for the good stuff to stay even in the subconscious somewhere, and we might once in a while bring it up, but the negative moments are there and we get triggered, right? So you talked about why did I feel this way? So we get triggered. And we need to understand those triggers. So when we understand our limiting beliefs, our triggers, what happened to us in our childhood, perhaps a teacher said something to us, maybe our parents said something to us, maybe we've been bullied as kids and someone, put us down. So we get triggered by someone telling us something, and it's got nothing to do with this particular scenario, but we suddenly go back to that child or that person that we were 2, 3, 4 years ago. So triggers are very, very important to understand. And when you understand the trigger, you have two options: to either stay in it, and that's your choice, or you can say, hold on a minute, it's been happening too often. Why do I get offended by this? Why this particular incident really left a mark in me? People talk about trauma. I read a book about intergenerational trauma. It's really interesting. That the whole, people talk, oh, you've gone through trauma, I've gone through trauma. We can go through the same trauma, like exactly the same. We're the same age. We've gone through the same sort of life. We're like twins, right? But your reaction to the trauma is actually what matters. So you might react in a certain way. I might react in a certain way. So that means that our mind behaves in a different way and reacts in a different way to a situation. So understanding why, or what is this trigger, and more importantly, what can I do with this? What can I do with this? Like, I always go back to kids. It's really easy. You get out the door, everyone's with their bags, and like almost out the door. I have it every day, and one's holding her plate with her toast and eggs on toast, because I make it every day for the kids, and they eat it in the car sometimes, and everyone's screaming. I like, get out, get out. What do you do with that? Do you react? So I used to react many times, and you get into the spiral of argument, and you get offended by your 10-year-old or your 12-year-old, like, hello, you're 52, what are you doing? And then sometimes you just decide to hold back, not react, and because that's still a reaction, not to get involved, not to let your mind fall into it. But at the same time, we're all human. So there's no way you're going to be, you're not going to be on high vibrations every day. Okay. And I always want to normalize that when I talk to people. Like, it's okay, again, not to be okay. It's okay to be down. It's okay to be angry. We've got emotions. I mean, what differentiates us from other creatures is that emotional side of us, right? And our mind. So we need to tune into emotions. We need to the emotions. We need to accept that we are scared. We need to accept that we are angry. We need to accept a feeling, because a feeling is legit. Okay? But what we do with it is what matters at the end.
It's exactly what I often say to people. I use a different language, but I'd say that our feelings are amoral. They're neither good nor bad. They just are. So if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're happy, whatever, it's amoral. It is what it is. It is how you choose to respond, as you say. That's one of the great gifts of being human. How do we respond? You talked about trauma, and we've talked about how you take that and turn it into something positive. To the extent that you want to, do you want to just share a little bit of your, or as much as you want, of your cancer journey? I mean, it's been quite profound. It's led to literal physical changes for you, but then how you've channeled that into Paddle for Hope and Eat, Drink, Pink. Yeah, talk us through it again to the extent that you're comfortable.
I guess that I'm a community person, first of all. So people who know me know I love people. This is my oxygen. And so when I encountered breast cancer for the first time, I was 26. So you can imagine, all I wanted to do is continue my life. And I was pretty lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones in both of my cancer diagnoses that I was diagnosed on time. So I felt probably a little bit more confident in the journey, but it's still a very scary and traumatic experience. I remember that day when the doctor told me that I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 26. I was so young, and there was not also a lot of information back then. So I had to find my tribe, and that's what I started doing. I started connecting with people and volunteering because I wanted to feel part of a community, and I wanted to connect with people who have gone through similar experiences. moving forward, fast forward to when I was 40 and was diagnosed again, which was a shock to the system because I thought I knew everything about breast cancer. I was already involved with Pedal for Hope. I already co-founded. So that was the second year. We started in 2011. So the first event in 2012. In 2013, I got diagnosed. And I thought to myself, how can this be? I mean, I'm fit, I'm strong, I paddleboard, I exercise, I eat well. I was very stressed. I had a lot of stress along my relationship, and a lot of sad down moments. I was trying to just float, like swim above water. That's how I felt throughout many, many years of my relationship. And it was quite devastating. So I think I was many times quite heartbroken. I didn't know what was I doing wrong, and I tried to fix things, and that takes a lot of energy. And so when I was diagnosed, it was quite a shock, but I give it to a few different reasons because, you can't put your finger on it because then we would have had no diseases. So, I don't know the exact why, but I found out that I was carrying the BRCA1 mutation like Angelina Jolie. So I've got the gene. And so that made a lot of sense. And that led to removing my ovaries as well because ovarian cancer is very hard to detect, one of the hardest ones. And so I was sitting there with 3 children by myself. My ex-partner and I, back then, we separated multiple times. We're trying to fix it and work. I was on my own with them, no family around. I immediately gathered my community. And so my community has helped me enormously and helped my kids stay afloat. I give so much respect to the people who helped us and held our hands. And I'm talking about from food to driving to looking after kids to listening to me to being with me in the emergency units multiple times with infections and whatever happened at that time. Channeling it to charity, channeling it to community work, I believe, and again, it's a belief system for me, that we need community. We need to invest our time in community. It's not a cliche. I'm not just saying it for saying it. It is the most amazing thing. And up until today, I'm part of this community. Not just the paddleboarding. There's, yeah.
Do you mind me asking, I think I heard the answer to what you're explaining, but as you were going through this journey twice, I can only imagine the shock the second time round. Did you create that community, as in you went out going, I need to build this tribe or community, or did, if you will, people come to you as you were going through these challenges?
Wow, it's what came first, the egg or the chicken? So it's like, okay, so I started the Pedal for Hope. I was always involved in charity work. So even in Sydney, the only thing I knew was my story when I got there. So I straight away went to the Breast Cancer Foundation there and volunteered and emceed the treasure hunt they did and became a speaker. They actually sent me to a couple of events and workshops so I can speak about my story and share my experience. And then when I came to New Zealand, I didn't know many people. So I started paddleboarding and I got into the races in Takapuna. Every Tuesday there's a race, a paddleboarding race. And so I fell in love with the sport and I take things like 120%. I'm into it and I started paddleboarding. I wasn't the best paddleboarder. I came first only in sprints. But I did the 3K, races and all that. And from that came an idea. And I looked at people and we were all dressed up. There was Halloween, I believe. And I said to myself and to my friend Victoria, what about a pink event on the water? Maybe we can fundraise for the Breast Cancer Foundation or something like that. And she said, oh, that's a brilliant idea. 2-3 weeks later, we had a committee. And back then, I didn't know that I started developing another breast cancer, so I had about 3 tumors that were monitored in the hospital consistently. They unfortunately became 10 when we reached the point where I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So there's a lot of, we'll put it aside because that's another hour of conversation about the health system and following up and all that. But that idea came to fruition because of just speaking about it and connecting with people. And people came to me and talked to me about their experiences, of course. And we didn't even know that we're going to co-found the Pedal On program, which became a revolutionary rehabilitation program for cancer patients and cancer sufferers. And so we started with fundraising, and we fundraised for the Breast Cancer Foundation. And it was like a magnet. It was just incredible. Everyone was talking about it. Pedalboarding was the hype back then. It was really trendy. And so we gathered teams and corporates, and I knocked on doors at the viaduct just to get funding and, and support and collaborate with Hawaiian Airlines and, met incredible people. And suddenly people just came. And of course, not just then, up until today, I've got an amazing community worldwide. People connect because of the book. They want to know more. Someone needs to go through surgery. They send me a message, and I reply. And I met just now, I was in Brisbane to meet family, but I met a lovely lady who connected with me because she was about to go through a DIP flap surgery, which is reconstructing your breast from your abdomen, from your tummy. So I said, let's catch up. So this is real, it's not just here. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, creating this community. Now, it's not easy to do, right? I sometimes look back and I go, how did you do it? But I think it kept me alive. I wanted to live. I wanted to find purpose. And this for me was it. So we ran the Pedal for Hope until 2018. Like every year, I did 2 events in Israel. I flew straight after chemo and I raced with someone who raced with me was an amazing lady, Lil, who had leukemia. She won the race. Victoria was second. I came quite at the end, probably last.
Oh, that's right. I can barely stand up on a paddleboard. So you are leagues. So clearly for you, this was a decision in many ways as you were going through this cancer journey to go, okay, I'm not just going to. Wow.
Yeah. And I remember Victoria saying to me, look, you've just got cancer. We need to pause. And I looked at her and I'm, quite assertive, determined. And I said, but this is why we're doing this. There's no way we're going to stop. So people would carry the board for me to the viaduct so I can just pedal slowly after surgeries. I had to, like, the water, the ocean, the people, the community was essential, was an oxygen. And I think that was like a flag that you wave and you go, you can do this. And so we had incredible cancer sufferers that joined and people who had their own story to tell. And, you're doing something good while you're going through something. And that's a really important point. If I can add to the audience, engage in community work and charity. It will give you a whole different perspective to life. I think people who haven't been involved in doing something for others are missing out. I'm missing out big time,
That's been, look, I've not been anywhere near the journey that you've been through in life. I want to underline that to date, touch wood. I haven't been through a cancer journey, but long shot, I found that actually in giving, in being generous, giving of your time, of your money, being involved, sacrificing, it actually makes for better. I mean, modern society sort of says focus on yourself, make sure you bring everything to yourself. Whereas I found actually in giving to others, creating community, better things come. it sort of gives for me certainly a sense of purpose.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly it. I think a lot of people wake up in the morning with no intention. They do things on automatic pilot, like they don't actually think about anything when they drink their coffee. They run through the door, they get out. Now, we can't live in la la land, of course. Life is life and there's challenges and we need to get up and we need to work and we need to make money and all of that. But, when you find your purpose, and I think that, I remember a few times I said, no, I'm gonna stop doing this. This is taking so much energy. But for some reason, it just kept going. And then when I had a lot of surgeries, there was 1 year that I endured a lot of procedures because of an infection that I had due to my reconstructive surgery. I had to stop racing. I couldn't pedal a lot, and I didn't want to continue this physical side of my charity. I thought, okay, the physios are doing their work with pedal on. It's in Pink and Steele's hands, and I've got to find something else. I still want to fundraise for cancer rehabilitation. Now, why cancer rehabilitation? I didn't touch on that. Is because there is no government funding for cancer rehabilitation in New Zealand and probably most countries in the world. So what is the point in surviving when you can't lift your hand up and grab the baked beans from the top shelf, or drive, or just do the basic things like hanging your washing? You slowly need to get back to who you were and even better. So cancer rehabilitation is mental, it's physical, it's everything, it's holistic. And there's no funding for that from the government, which is really sad. We put so much effort into treatment, not to prevention and not to the post-recovery. So, people think that it's only the journey, the actual cancer journey, like the chemo and the radiotherapy and the surgeries that are hard. It's actually after. It's after the community slowly evaporates and your friends are going back to their day-to-day life and you're not sick anymore, and you need to kind of understand what have I gone through right now? Like what was this? So with the Pedal for Hope, the Eat Drink Pink, all of that, there was a big purpose for me, is to voice the need for cancer rehabilitation and to tell my story. And I'm not more of a hero than anyone else, or I always say I'm pretty lucky. But I think it's so amazing when people in general take their adversity and create something. If it's mental health, if it's cancer, if it's kids, youth, whatever someone's gone through,
Says me, I think it can be quite redemptive, again, when something's going wrong, but to channel that into something positive. I mean, talk us through quickly, is it Eat, Drink, Pink? I mean, it's not just the paddleboarding, you've set up other initiatives, and you wrote a book with quite the title.
Yes, I know. I've got it here, actually. Where is it? Yeah. Here we go. Here's the book. Oh, can't hear.
Oh, sorry, I'm always muting myself. I was just saying, I love as you were getting the book, I love the poster behind you, Excuses Don't Get Results. But anyway, there's the book. Let's bring it to camera again.
Excuses Don't Get Results. There's a few here. So this is the book, I'm More Than Just My Tits. And about almost 4 years ago, I published a book here in New Zealand. I was so excited. It took me a while, and the reason was actually to leave a legacy. So everything that I do has a purpose of leaving a legacy and helping the community and doing something for the community, but also for myself. I feel good when I give. I feel good when I'm involved in community events. I feel good when I connect with people. And so finding your ability, again, I go back to what we spoke about in the beginning, finding your ability, your superpowers. This is mine. Right? So I connect people, and I love that so much. Eat Drink Pink came about when I had to find another way to fundraise. So I did 4 events, and they were very successful. I've joined hands with different brands who supported us, and fundraise tens of thousands of dollars. You can't do it by yourself. I cannot take credit for any of my initiative if it wasn't for the community, the people who donated, and the people involved. You need a committee. You need people who have the same vision as you, who understand your ethos, who understand what is the intention here. You know, you talked about purpose and intention. So what is the intention? So, in the last year and a half, couple of years, I kind of stepped away a little bit from the big events, and also had to put a lot of effort into my kids, my family. You know, with teenagers, there's a lot of work, and had to look after myself too, because I, again, endured a lot of physical changes through my reconstructive surgery. So I haven't even finished. I keep laughing about it. It's been an ongoing journey with reconstructive surgery. And again, it has to do with the system and the consistency and the inconsistency, actually. And, you know, the public system is heavy. There's a lot going on there. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of women who get diagnosed with breast cancer. You know, the good news is that a lot of there's higher survival rates when you get diagnosed on time. The last couple of years, I've been focusing on my public speaking gigs. I love to connect with people in the corporate world, come there, and not just, again, for my breast cancer journey story. I actually talk about resilience and growth and mindset. I'd like to inspire people. The word motivation is a bit controversial, you know, it's about action. It's not just about getting up in the morning and hippie hooray, today is Thursday, this is a great day. But you can wake up like that. I do try to say today's going to be the best day of my life. So I focus on public speaking. I've signed up with celebrity speakers last year. That was really exciting for me. And trying to facilitate more workshops. So I started Horizon with my friend Mel, and each event has a different topic. And this is all about women and women's community, females, entrepreneurs, or you know, women who are ambitious and want to create a better life for themselves. So this is my focus right now, is to help as many people individually, in groups, in teams, share my story. But I weave my story and the cancer journey throughout the talks and facilitating workshop. It's not, again, it goes back to our identity. Breast cancer does not define me. You know, my solo parenting does not define me. You know, these are things that happened for me, and therefore I became who I am. And it's really important to remember when we say, oh, this happened to me. No, hold on a second. I know it's hard when things are really, really tough. I know. I talk to so many different people from different walks of life. And, you know, if you look at what is happening at the moment in your life and it's not great, acknowledge that and understand that there is a lesson there, even if we don't like it. So I never say that, oh, I'm so happy that I had breast cancer twice. It's amazing. What a great journey I had. Of course not. I said goodbye to many people who passed away because of breast cancer throughout our pedalon activities. You know, we had terminal patients on the water, but I know that the last days were happy days, you know. So I look at my experience, and sometimes I'll have tiny little things crawling here in my mind, back of my going, why does it happen to you? What is this? Why today? Why this and why that? But we can't get stuck on it. So no. I rather program my brain to ask, what has it done for me? if this happened to me, what did I gain from it? What can I learn from it? So to your question, the previous one about community, is one of the reasons I love this so much, and coaching and speaking, is because of that, is to show people that you can learn and you can give from your traumatic experience, rather than go, oh, I had this and, it did this to me,
It makes sense to me. I mean, again, not that I've had your journey, but, I'm the person I am today because of all the experiences I've had in life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing. It makes us who we are. But I can't help but think, as you've been speaking, that sense of community is just so vitally important. I suppose in a big way, Karin, it's why you do the mentoring work that you do, that coaching, because you are someone's community. But before we wrap up, you've talked a couple of times about being a solo mum. And again, I know these are very personal things, but any thoughts, experiences, or advice you might want to quickly share with people? Because I think, is it three? You've got three lovely children. What it's what it's like. You've said it's not easy, but you're clearly navigating that. Again, any advice you'd want to give our viewers and listeners?
I'll bring the boxing stand, and I'll go like that, right? This is how I channel most of my anger or whatever it is, those frustrations. I go to the gym, I train, I exercise. I'm a fitness instructor as well, so I studied that in Sydney, and so I channel everything into my fitness. So yeah, solo motherhood, nobody really goes into a relationship thinking that they're going to be by themselves raising their kids. And let's leave money aside, which is a huge issue for solo parents. I've got a very good friend who's a divorce coach, and we talk about it a lot, the situation that mothers get into and their disadvantage financially. Okay, that's huge. And I've been trying as hard as I can to grow again, to build again. It's very difficult. I got a lot of help from the government. Many times I had to ask for support from friends and family, so that is one thing. And, sometimes you've got it good with your, with the other parent and they support financially. So every story is different, we've got good days and less good days. But if we put the finances aside and we look at the everyday grind and responsibility, that is where I put most of the emphasis when I talk about solo parenting. Solo parenting is when you do not co-parent. And it can be even because of death. A partner died. It could be a mother or a father. It's not just a mom, right? So when you carry the load by yourself, it is so heavy. The kids know that there's basically one parent that they can rely on. And I always say, I am not the father and the mother. I am your mother, because I can't take that role. I will never be the father. Same goes the other way around. So I had to program my mind to it, because many times when things are tough, I go, hey, I'm only one person, okay? Just hold yourself here. And I had to explain that to my children. I'm very open with my kids. There is hardly anything they don't know about my life, about who I am, about what's happening, whether it's my work, career, studying, finances, family, everything. I'm literally like an open book. But when it comes to the responsibility, I can tell you that there are moments where I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out, probably, even worse. And it can take a period of time for me to kind of get back on the horse again. And I call it dive under the wave, come the other side. And sometimes I'll have to take steps back and just not talk to the kids too much at home, like just be quiet, find my quiet space, because it's very hard when you're navigating solo parenting. It's the responsibility. It's mental. It's not just physical. It is mental, and the mental responsibility, knowing that you are responsible for these little creatures, the little people, these little beautiful souls who you brought to the world. You've got responsibility. Now, in my case, I don't have immediate family in New Zealand, which makes it even harder. And of course, many times people say, don't you want to go back? I love New Zealand. I'm a Kiwi. I think my kids have got an amazing life here. I think we've got so much more that we can do here. We've only just started. It's a young country. And, you just got to keep on going. And remember, as I said in the beginning, everything is temporary, the good and the bad. So solo parenting is tough. I'm not going to lie about it. But it doesn't have to define you. Okay? It doesn't have to define you. I sometimes, even myself, guilty, go into that little hole where I say, oh, it's solo, and I use this word, I'm a solo mom, I'll explain to someone, and then I go, Karin, don't allow this to be your frame. This is not just who you are. And when I work with people, whatever problem it is, I try to put it in a table of about 9 boxes and go, you're not just a parent, and you're not just a partner, and you're not just that career person. You are made of so many components. And I would love to be able to work with single moms or solo moms. But one of the big obstacles for these women is finances many times. And so finding that, people say, oh, have you spoken to someone? And I go, I have to pay these fees tomorrow. I don't have that money.
Yeah. I'm balancing 3 kids on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do? You have to seek support from literature, from podcasts. I mean, there's so many freebies available to us today. Learn to receive help. I always say to mothers, just ask for help. You have no idea how many people would want to help you when you are struggling. And so we're very proud. I'm very proud. But my close little circle knows when I need help, knows when I need support, and they'll pick up the pieces. And that's okay. I'm only human too. The fact that I coach, mentor, speak, and wrote a book doesn't make me like a total superhero. We've got some superpowers, but we're just humans trying to navigate life. And everyone, I want to talk about what you just said a few times, because I listened, and you said, I haven't gone through what you've gone through. I haven't gone through what you don't have to go through what I've gone through to encounter struggle and trauma or any problems in your life. We cannot compare traumas. Like if someone says to me, I've had cancer and you've had cancer, it's like, my cancer is not worse than your cancer. There's no worse and better. It's like the way each one of us individually takes on obstacles in life is the big difference, as I said earlier. And traumas is individually looked at. It's in relation to you. Someone might go through a traumatic experience in their lives, and because of their reaction, they won't even see it as traumatic experience. Okay? And someone else will go, oh, this was so traumatic. And, I will never judge anyone that says this was hard for me, this was difficult for me, because I had breast cancer twice, so I'm like here. No.
It's not like a hierarchy or a race, is it? And it is, I suppose it is, and again, it'll be an essential part of your work is meeting people where they're at. And I have to say, as we sort of wrap up, that whole sense of tribe and community and having people around you is one of the really strong themes which has come out of what you're doing. Again, it's your work as a coach and mentor, but just in life, it's having those people around you. So, Karin, I am exceptionally great. Look, first and foremost, you have fabulous children. I met your daughter at a function along with you the other night. A wonderful chutzpah. So credit to you. And look, just thank you for sharing you and, parts of your story. I always find it incredibly humbling when people do so. But just thank you for all the energy, enthusiasm, the writing, the speaking that you do. And again, you're just an amazing person. I'm just so glad you're able to come on the show and share. If people want to get in touch, if they have been things you've said have resonated, what's the best way for them to find you? What's your website and Instagram and all that?
So first of all, thank you so much, Simon, for having me today. You talk about energy, and this is it. I absolutely love this. For people who don't know, I was a TV presenter online for a long time, and I just see it as a great channel to a platform to communicate and to convey messages, for sure. So that is why I do love social media in a way. I know it's controversial at the moment, especially with the young ones, but if you want to find me, follow me on Instagram. So that's Karin Horen. You can also tap into my website. So this is karinhoren.com. I also have all my courses and my workbooks on a platform called Kit, and it's also listed on my Instagram page. So there's all the links are there. And by all means, if you have a question, whether it's about your mindset, obstacles in life, whatever you're going through, you're a mom, a dad, whether through breast cancer, you've been diagnosed, please reach out to me. I am really grateful when someone does that. It's not a burden. So send me a message via Instagram. It's usually kind of the fastest way for me to view it, to read it. And I'll do my best to respond promptly. Sometimes it does take a couple of days, but community is this. And I have met the most extraordinary people, not just women, people around the world that I'm in touch with through social media. It's amazing what we can do. So please reach out. My email is also online. It's on my website. So yeah, my phone number is probably there too. But as a public figure, I've lived this life for many years. So yeah.
Karin, you are simply amazing in and of yourself. Fabulous is a word I think I used at the start, and I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's said to viewers and listeners, you know how to get hold of Karin. So look, thanks for being so much part of the show, and bless everything that you do.
Thank you, Simon. Have a beautiful, blessed day.